Dear viewers, welcome. My name is Ines Žižić and you are watching Atma podcast. As you can hear, I'm speaking in English because the podcast itself was recorded in English and has no translation, since the Live in Flow retreat in Split that we are discussing will also be held in English. I am excited to talk with three guests today about the upcoming Live in Flow retreat, Mastering Your Inner Mystic, taking place from November 12th to 16th this year in Split, Croatia. This experience will be led by world-class facilitators who have guided countless programs worldwide, helping people reconnect with themselves. Globally recognized therapist Petra Brzović, Australian transformation expert Guy Lawrence, and sound healing pioneer Matt Omo will come together to host their 30th retreat. Over 5 days, participants will explore meditation, embodiment practices, sound and energy healing, breathwork, and out-of-body journeys, all designed to support deep transformation. So, let's dive in. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to hear from you guys what you have prepared for Split, what you are bringing to Split. Let me start firstly, before you say something, I want to shortly give a brief introduction about you. So Petra Brzović, hi Petra.
Hi, Ines.
Welcome, Petra. This is your second time on my podcast. I'm
It is.
very much looking forward to hear what you have prepared from Split. So Petra is globally recognized therapist known for her profound soul work, trauma release, and helping people finding their potential. With us is also Guy Lawrence. Hi, Guy.
Hello.
Guy is transformation expert and speaker. He is from Australia. And with us is also Matt Omo. Hi, Matt.
Hello there.
Matt is sound healing pioneer with over 15 years of experience.
Yeah,
It would be awesome
I
if
was
it was.
doing it since birth. I came out screaming and I haven't stopped.
Okay, so Petra, Guy, and Omo, welcome again to our Atma podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, I want to congratulate, as I already said in introduction, this is your number 30. I think number 30 retreat, which you're doing together, and it's happening in Split. So it's really amazing thing.
It
I
is.
think, yeah, congratulations.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It's
Thank you.
very proud.
So Petra, with Guy and Matt coming from Australia, you're kind of a hostess here. This is your terrain. So I definitely would love to start with you. So my question is, how did your collaboration with Matt and Guy started, and what have you discovered through these 30 retreats together?
A lot, I would say. Well, first of all, neither one of us knew each other 8 years ago, and then Guy and I met in Costa Rica at one retreat in 2017, which is 8 years ago. And back then, we didn't know that we would work together. We just knew that we liked each other, and Guy and his wife were there, and we just really became good friends. And then several months after that retreat, I was coming to Australia and I reached out saying that I'm here and if he would like to meet. And then we just hit it off. Then, actually, I organized a small retreat there and Guy helped me put it together. And he was really supportive with everything, which was a huge thing for me because I was in an unknown, I mean, sort of unknown country, but I was unknown for the people. And we pulled it off. And then Guy had this idea that we could run retreats together. And at that time, he stopped doing his old job. He left a very big, successful company so that he could step on this path. And he asked me if I would like us to organize a retreat together. And I said yes. And then we were driving in a car and he just told me, look, I know this amazing guy and I know that he needs to be with us. Let's give him a call and see if he wants to do a retreat with us. And I said, sure, fine. And then we called Matt. And then Guy asked Matt, would he like to, Guy will tell you his version of the story, but would he like to do a retreat with us? And Matt said, yeah, sure. And I'll let boys tell you their part of the story because it's very interesting how their lives were. I mean, the life of each one of us was really crumbling at that moment. So I was, on the verge thinking, should I move to Australia or not with my kids on my own? Guy left a big successful company. Matt has his, life's breakdown. And then we were just put together and it was something that we knew we have to do together. And we did our first retreat without knowing each other. Matt and I met literally half an hour before the first retreat started. And we didn't know how we're going to work together, how we're going to combine our gifts. We didn't know how each one of us worked. But then after first session, we all started crying and we didn't stop crying for the whole first retreat. I mean, we still cry almost at every retreat because we are so moved by the magic that the three of us create together. Because each one of us has our own unique gifts, but when we combine it together, it's just something beautiful and magical happens. So that's how we met. That's how it started 8 years ago, and here we are.
Yeah. Would you like to add something about? Yeah.
Trust me.
They trust you.
No, they will definitely add. I know.
But yes, please.
No, it's great listening to Petra and to tie it all together for everybody listening to this was that I had known Matt many years. I'd experienced his work directly with sound and had some profound shifts that was part of my own inner journey, which continues to this day. Your relationship constantly changes with this work, but at that point, it was just a melting pot, really, of like synergies, like Petra said. And I actually said to Matt, "Look, mate, you're the first person I'd come to. I want to run this retreat. Are you interested? I think you've got to be in." And of course he said yes. And then I went to Petra and said, "Petra, you're the first person I come to. Are you interested in this? You got to be in." And she said yes. And then they found out later that that was the case. But no, look, honestly, from the way it all came together like that, you can't script it. You can't make this up. It literally is surrendering into flow. And hence why what came out of it was live in flow, because the more we get out of our own way and really listen into and action upon what's wanting to come through, the more beautiful things seem to unfold. So that's one thing we always try to honor in my personal life, and obviously when holding space for other people to walk this path as well.
Great. Matt, would you like to add something?
Well, sure, just briefly. Like, I think all three of us had these different modalities and gifts that we were bringing together and bringing to the table, but the most divine thing about it all was the fact that we came together and that trio that was then created, because it seemed like, or it seems like even still, we talk about the 30 retreats that we run together. It's that ability to work in community as facilitators, to hold a space for a community to meet us. And it's like that then coming together of people and connecting at a heartfelt level is what really allows the work to be amplified. I was doing this for a decade or so before I met these two, and I took it as far as I could. But as soon as I started working with them and we created this synergy together, it was like, this is what is needed, is this container that is creating connection and a deep, heartfelt willingness to be together, to work together, to collaborate. And then that collaboration is what really allows for the transformation and healing for people. So I think that's one little caveat that kind of gets lost, is like, that's what the world is craving. That's what people are coming for and missing. We're so connected with our technologies, but we're so disconnected from our hearts. So
yes,
that's one thing I'd want to add.
Yes, thank you. So the name of the retreat is Live in Flow. Mastering Your Inner Mystic. It's really cool name. It says it all. But let me ask you this. I'm going to ask Guy. We often hear today about this term, mystical, spiritual, esoterical, otherworldly, supernatural experiences. We talk a lot about it on our podcast. But what does it actually mean after, someone has been on your retreat and he comes back home to his, everyday life, partner, kids, work, problems? How to master your inner mystic, how to be spiritual in everyday life?
Oh,
Yeah?
it's a fine dance, isn't it? It's something that, we come to a retreat, we're craving something, we're yearning for something for more, we want more depth, we want more purpose, we want more meaning in our lives. And quite often there's a dance between chasing that mystical experience as if it's going to take all your problems away by having all these enlightening moments, and then we're just going to float on back into our life and just cruise through the rest of our lives with no hiccups, kind of thing. And it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, the way I look at it, and especially as somebody that's had many mystical experiences on my own personal journey, and something I like to lean in with wonder and awe, like a little child would, just the exploration of this. But when I look back upon my life 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it would be safe to say that my awareness has evolved, and my knowledge and wisdom to myself has evolved from that guy 10 years ago. And I have no doubt my future self in 10 years is going to be looking back upon myself in this moment with more wisdom and knowledge than I have right now. So to me, that's an expansion of awareness. And within that expansion of awareness, there's a fine line of then exploring the constructs of what is our day-to-day life, what is our belief systems, and what is actually owning a space of awareness to allow more of that embodied wisdom in any given moment, before we impose judgments on the mind and what we think we already know based upon past experiences. I hope I'm making sense so far.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's that dance right there. So I know that requires humility to really start to lean in and be more present in ourselves, knowing that our awareness and consciousness has this opportunity to ever expand, and then an embodiment of that wisdom through our applied actions through our daily lives. And what leaning into then the sense of mystery and mysticism and having these divine experiences at one of our events, say, if we're not chasing it, but exploring the possibility, that then continues to break down the constructs of the beliefs of what we think we know. And it's through that deconstruction of beliefs of what we think we know, we then become even more open to possibility. And then what I found was that through that exploration, and then starting to actually sit with what wisdom has been wanting to present through these mystical experiences, is that if we start to then be open to allow that wisdom to come through in everyday life, we actually become, I found there's a relationship with spirit that evolves over time, and that we can co-create our lives together if we're open into listening and allowing spirit to work with us in any given moment. But the only way we can do that is to be very present with what is in the moment and tune into the subtleties of life and spirit and the universe and nature and earth and others that's all around us at any given time. But normally we're so caught in our emotions, we're so caught up in our own stuff, that we fixate on all the fears and all the problems and everything that's going wrong. And it could be right here the whole time, but we just haven't stopped to pause to give it the attention it deserves and then action it from there. So for me, having these beautiful leaning into the mystical and mastering that inner mystic really is then about how do we actually turn up in our moments in everyday life with more peace, more presence, less judgment, less ego, and less attachment to who we think we are. And from that point, we can then start to explore the boundaries of what's possible, find our edge, and then leaning from there, knowing that you're coming from a very authentic place, as opposed to just a mind-driven, I think I need this because this is going to make me happy. And if we're doing that, then at some point in our lives, we are telling ourselves, then I'm not happy in this moment and I'm not whole and complete. And that's a very different resonance to the one that we want to be. Because ultimately, the name of the game is to really, regardless of what the external world is happening, is that we can navigate our own terrain and be the masters of our own vehicle, our own ship. And then we don't need validation from the external world to let us know who we are internally, because we already know it. We're already there.
Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful, deep and layered explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me turn to Matt and sound healing. So we know how sound is pleasurable. We love it. We love music, but we didn't have so many opportunities on podcasts to talk about the healing potency of the sound. So can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of us in our westernized modern culture, we identify sound in music as entertainment. And if you trace back into, ancient cultures and traditions and the mystics and what, has been talked about for millennia in many sacred texts, is that sound is actually consciousness, and that all consciousness is vibration or sound. And that in essence, sound is medicine, or it's a power of the divine to make manifest into form. That's how it works, is through vibration, through frequency. And you can learn about that through cymatics, where they put on a metal plate different sand, and then they put frequencies through, and different patterns come through to illustrate that you can actually create structure through sound and vibration. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg, is that I think what we do is, because we're so busy in our everyday life, we tend to find sound healing experiences, like a sound bath is a very common term these days, and that's it creates like this idea of relaxation. Let me just sit and escape the world and just be in this blissful experience, which is beneficial, obviously, because we are so stressed and so busy and so stimulated in our worlds. But that's just one fraction of it. You've got sound and breath. They all work hand in hand. They have an ability to upregulate your nervous system and downregulate your nervous system. So you can stimulate and you can relax through the power of sound. And why is this important? Because the nervous system itself is your gateway through to your perception of reality. So everything you're experiencing, everything you're coming up to, your relationships, your beliefs, your thoughts, your feelings, everything is coming through that filter of perception of your nervous system, picking up the information, right? And so if that nervous system is deregulated, dysregulated, and it's stressed out, it's overwhelmed, it's anxious, then that is the lens that we're going to be looking through when we perceive everything that we're experiencing in the relationships that we have. So ultimately, then we're going to perpetuate more stress, more anxiety, more overwhelm in all aspects of our lives. And this is a commonality. Even chattering mind is a commonality of a dysregulated nervous system. And then if we lean into the power of sound, then like if you, the cool thing is that now we can actually map in real time how the brain and the nervous system works when we're hearing music or when we're creating music, right? And so most of the brain is engaged while we're working with sound, from all the way from the most ancient part of the brain up to the prefrontal cortex, the most modern part of the brain. And so to me, that is a great indication then that we have the ability to work and recondition the nervous system through the power of sound. And so working with that concept, then if we create opportunities to create an upregulation or stimulation, which is a lot of what we do in the work, is we recondition the nervous system. You would probably have images of this, working with indigenous cultures and stuff, and different traditions. There's a lot of up-tempo rhythms. There's drumming. There's dancing. There's this loud and rhythmical music, and that's all designed from ancient wisdom to allow for a stimulation in the nervous system to elicit altered states of consciousness or different vantage points from which we can view ourselves and our reality. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, I know
Okay.
a bit about ancient mantras and that
Yeah.
type of sound, but I'm seeing a lot of instruments behind you. Can you maybe tell us which kind of music do you use, for example, on retreats?
Yeah, we bring it all in. So it's the stimulation. So the gong is a very powerful instrument that, because of the frequencies and the overtones and everything that's going through the gongs, it allows for two things. It allows for the mind to quiet. It's very challenging to hold a train of thought when the gong is sounding. And so that's very beneficial then, because we start to relinquish our grasp that we have upon control and our fears and our, everything that we're holding in that nervous system starts to get knocked loose, so to speak. And that, so the gong is something that do that. Keyboards and guitars, that those are more rhythmical, melodic kind of things to allow for journeying. I've got crystal bowls over here that you can't see, but the crystal bowls create layers, and I do overtones and things with my voice to work with the energy, work with the subtle energies. So it's a whole sound journey is what we go through, and it's like I was saying, is how do we create a stimulation to allow for the nervous system to break free of its restrictions of where it's holding, and then also allow for an overtone and expansion of sound to relax and open into a greater expanse of consciousness, so we can start to perceive and view our challenges from a larger vantage point and get into like those altered states or those mystical states. And then from those mystical states, like Guy was really articulating, was then how do you bring that into your life, and how all that is all orchestrated through the retreat and through the use of sound, the use of breath, and use of the voice, and so forth.
Yes, thank you. That sounds amazing. Yeah, great. Petra, let me talk with you about something in which you are an expert. You are known to connect therapy with science and spirituality. So, why do you think that is important, and how does it actually help people?
Well, first of all, we are in we are humans living in 3D world. Most of the people that come to our retreats, they come as pure humans in their analytical minds, afraid of the unknown, and that makes them want to have like something they can prove to them that they're at the right place, that what they're gonna do is working, etc. So the science behind everything we do gives them that first kind of, like a cushion that they can feel safe in. And apart from that, I believe that it's really beautiful that we can explore with scientific tools that we have, even though it's really hard to, put in human words and numbers and stuff, divine and everything that we do. But it is a great way for humans to start understanding and like nudging them more into the direction of remembering themselves as a soul and these divine beings. So the three of us, we don't need the science, because we live this work. We know how it works. We witness it on a daily basis. Well, we are very aware ourselves as divine beings and as these 3D human beings, because we've done a lot of work and we are living the work that we do and that we share with people. But for majority of people who come to this work, they need this. They need some kind of black and white proof why this works, that their brain seeks for ways how to put dots together and understand how the nervous system works. Why does this affect my body in this way? Like Matt was explaining now, just briefly about the sound and the nervous system. And then they can start to relax and to let it in and to surrender. And then we can guide them on those beautiful journeys. So in that way, I believe that science is important for people to, make those first steps towards remembering who they are.
Uh, I agree. Yes, the mind, the analytical mind needs this information, especially in today's age. Everything has to be scientifically proved, so we can just start, But tell me, what actually are you doing on this retreat? What are your, how to say, themes?
Well, each retreat is unique, and the three of us, we have kind of structure, but we don't follow the structure. We follow each group. So one session after the other, in every break, we come together and we discuss about where the group is, what they're struggling with, and what we're going to do. So sometimes we shift the whole thing, and maybe we thought that Matt will do a sound bath, but maybe they're not ready for that. So I'll do some embodiment work, or we'll, break it down scientifically for them to start understanding and to make them feel safe. And then we'll do some other practice. So we really bring everything there, and then we pick up whatever is needed at a certain moment. But what I'm bringing is a lot of hypnotherapy work, a lot of regression work, a lot of energy work, working with the souls, working with the body. So I also do somatic practices, embodiment practices. So everything that we do in those retreats, we don't leave it just there, that they have these amazing, beautiful journeys that we take them on, but we want them to embody it so they can bring it back into their lives. So all processes that we do and all the healing that we do and all the insights they receive while they're in such expanded states of consciousness, what I do is I help them bring it into the body so that it really sinks on a cellular level and they go back home as changed beings. So it doesn't stay, in those higher realms, because after all, we all are humans that chose to live this life, and they are going back to their lives. They're going back to their families. They're going back to their challenges, and we want them to feel equipped that they can not just handle life, but enjoy life. And otherwise, this would be just a nice experience, and we don't want that. We really want to help people change and transform their lives and not just have this excursion into the spirit realm.
That is also okay. Okay. So, Guy, you said that, or Petra said that you left, I think Petra said that you left a really successful career before you embarked on this, let me say, spiritual journey. Can you tell us what pushed you to make such a radical decision?
Yeah, great question. It's almost like, imagine you've been told the greatest secrets of all, and and then you just want to share it with people. So that was one thing. So a large part of, so I had a supplement company called 180 Nutrition, and here in Australia, and it started, I think I started about 2008, and then it evolved and took off really well. But during that time, it was like I was living a double life, because I was always drawn to listening to Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, and just taking that information in, because at the crux of it all, even though I was committed to doing this work, I felt quite lonely inside, to be honest with you. And I could never really understand that. So it just, those underpinning emotions that I'd never really tapped into were actually driving me to keep pushing in the material world, if that makes sense, on reflection. But I had as I was leaning more in, I was reflecting back on my life, because I got run over when I was on my push bike. I got T-barred in the car. And at that point in time, I was cycling back from the city, and I remember I was being very resistant to quitting, because I was into stock trading, because I had it in my head that I was going to make all this money, get happy, and then go and do something I was going to go and love. That's how I was telling myself. So, and I was really, and it wasn't working. And I'd put about 2 or 3 years of my life into this thing while I was working at the university in the health and fitness industry. And I was working with cancer people. Now, my heart was telling me to lean into more what I was learning with people from working with cancer and to create this product to get into the fitness industry because it really needed a natural protein, which was non-existent back then, believe it or not. But my head and my fear was telling me, keep driving down stock trading. You're going to make it. You've put 3 years of your life into this. How dare you give it up? And then in a combination of 2 weeks, I got ran over and my ex-girlfriend cheated on me and dumped me. And I was pretty much broke. So all these three things turned me into a complete mess. And out of my own misery, I thought, I'm going to crawl away. And then that really opened the door into really taking this seriously with a supplement company. And lo and behold, they went on and did really well. So I felt like the universe had my back, but I needed a sledgehammer to wake up and listen to it, right? Yeah. So as I was having all these profound experiences on my own exploration of work, like, you know, to the point where I'd be laying in bed at 3 a.m. and I just, my body wouldn't stop vibrating in energy, and then beings would start coming in. And it's like, is this really happening? You know, and starting to create this relationship. So all of a sudden it was starting to scream inside me. There's more to this. Listen to the heart. And because what's the first thing you do when those things start coming in? Of course, you keep resisting it even more. So then it was like deja vu all over again. But this time, because, you know, I really wanted it, you know, this, well, I can't remember the saying, but, you know, the first time's a mistake. The second time, you know, maybe the third time you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? You got to listen to these things. So by this point in my life, it was like, okay, all the warning signs are here. Even in the company, the things were starting to shift energetically and everything. And I knew I need to go in a different direction. And it's screaming at me to help other people through the journey that I've made. And I felt like I had enough years under my belt now and enough life experiences to help other people with this inner journey or work of what's helped me. So instead of waiting till the pain was so great and it breaking down, I was proactive and was staying one step ahead of it, which is terrifying and exhilarating all at the same time, but knowing that's what I needed to do. So my wife fully supported me. She's like, let's do this. She didn't know how. I actually didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no idea. But it's like, well, if I'm going to teach, I want to teach from direct experience and from action, not just words and being, you know, a salesman on stage or whatever. It's got to come from the right place. So that's what happened. And the first thing I did was start my podcast at the time, let it in. That's all I knew because I've been podcasting. And then the trajectory started going. I sold out of my company, said goodbye. And there's nothing more motivating when you burn the ships and you got no other option except that way. So that's what happened really at the end of the day.
Thank you for sharing the story. It's very inspirative. What kind of topics, what kind of work are you going to facilitate on this retreat?
Me? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, I love working. There's two things. I love sharing from my own experience through these lessons. But for me, a lot of it comes down to energy and comes down to exploring that mysticism and how we can embody that and take it back with us and the pathways to getting there. What I've found is that the more I've surrendered into this work and really understand that from an energetic perspective, that relationship that I was speaking of earlier, you know, that we can bring back into our everyday life, that truly can be nurtured, and we can be really leaning into embodying the mysteries of spirit in our everyday life. And that's what I love to bring to the table. And what I found is through this journey, and still to this day, it keeps continuing to get more and more embodied. And it's incredible where this can really take you if you are willing to, chop wood, carry water, lean into practices and processes. I think as well, it's very easy to overcomplicate this work, and it can be. And a lot of what I found is that a lot of the basics and the simplicity of the practices of developing one's awareness for their body and themselves and spirit. Once we understand that, and if we're willing to nurture that every day, we're just slowly entraining the body to orchestrate to a new resonance, to a new vibration. And it's through that carving out just bit by bit, day by day, is how we get there. But when you come to a retreat, and I kind of look at it like we're conductors, and we're all these unique individual notes that might need tuning up a bit, or have lost our our resonance. And through that, we create the symphony, and it's together that we can create a much larger coherent field, which continues to orchestrate and train every part of our DNA, every part of ourselves, our body in itself. And it's through that entrainment the body learns. Your nervous system and your homeostasis, your nervous system is dynamic, meaning it can continue to learn. So it's through that orchestration, it's through that coming together, and it's through that surrendering is how we evolve and how we start to widen the vantage point of our awareness, not only to ourselves and our bodies, but then to nature and spirit as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me get back to Matt. So I guess you were a trained musician, or you just it's started as also some special spiritual interest or a hobby. What is your story?
Yeah, no, I just make a lot of noise. There's no method to it. No, it stemmed from many different converging trails, I guess. I did spend some time in Los Angeles where I dabbled a bit with the idea of becoming a musician. So I did have it as a hobby and some sort of idealistic kind of fantasy of a career. But within all of that, I think I was also learning about spirituality. I was learning about meditation. It was always something that was around me. My dad was very into all kinds of personal development work, and so he actually punished me with personal development. To be honest, he would. I couldn't sit still in school. I'm very active, and so school wasn't really a fun place for me, and so we get in a lot of trouble. And his way of disciplining me was to give me cassette tapes of personal development work and say, "Go to your room and give me a report on this." And so I was learning meditation techniques and ways to cope with my anxiety and my I guess you probably call it ADD or ADHD these days, but whatever was going on for me, I learned to manage all of that within myself from this punishment, so to speak. And so that was an introduction to it at a young age, and it didn't really stick to me until I better know who I was and kind of got out of my system of that rebellious part of myself, I guess. But it came in handy over the years, and my mom died when I was only 22, so I was just getting out into the world, and so that was a big catalyst for me to really lean into that work that my dad then offered to me, and that was dealing with the grief and trying to find my way through that pain was quite a challenge, especially at that young age. And I think a part of me was there was so much there's so, I mean, it's this year, actually last week was the 30-year anniversary that she passed, so it was like it's been quite a journey. But in there, she came to me and she showed me a vision, like right straight from the beginning, a few days after she died. And I realized that she hadn't gone anywhere, and the little boy in me was excited to find ways to connect to that divine place that she had transcended to, and to find my mom again, in essence. And so that really began the search. Then all the information my dad had spoon fed me at a young age became a reality, and I was at an age then where I could get out in the world and I could start to explore different traditions and start to explore meditation and mantra and sound and yoga and shamanic work and breath work and like, tantric work, like ecstatic dance, whatever like my heart desired. I was in LA, Los Angeles, like anything you want, it's just around the corner, right?
Yes.
Any kind of weirdo or valid spiritual practice is just around the corner. So yeah, it was that exploration. And I think the through line for me was how sound and music and breath all coincided, and they all coincided in a way that it satiated my anxious mind, it soothed my aching heart, and it allowed me to embody a deeper wisdom than I had ever before. So it was like this access to my mom, to a higher consciousness, to an inner peace. And that's really where the gears started turning. I had a computer job back in the day, and the week I was made redundant from my computer job, I had just finished massage training. So massage training then led into healing from a deeper level, from a physical level. So I was working with people, and then I was feeling their emotions and starting to realize that I could bring my music into these massage sessions and allow people to release emotions. And so it's kind of like that. I think you're kind of getting the picture. It was just like kind of weaving a web together of different aspects that help me and help my clients. And over time, then I've got enough tools and techniques to start to develop the work that I do now. And that's really empowering people. It's funny, we just finished a retreat in Australia here last week, and one of the participants, she said, I've learned to fish. Since I've been here, I learned to fish. And I think that's exactly it. We teach people how to fish. We give them tools. We give them ways to empower themselves. And I think, speaking to what everyone said so far and expanding on it, it's like, from a mystical standpoint, we are all mystical. We are mystics in form. And the issue is first that we've forgotten that, because we're so busy holding on to a limitation of what we perceive ourselves to be here. So then the journey back to that mystical aspect or divine aspect of ourselves is to relinquish that limited identity that we cling so tightly to. And that happens through this work of coming together, of having experiences that are beyond the five senses, that are then giving you a vantage point and an aha moment to say, oh, there's something more than what I've identified with reality. And that more that is, I am. And that can I then bring that expanse of who I am and what is speaking to my heart that's inspired me to be birthed into the world, actually into the world. And that's the journey. So it's letting go of resistance and allowing the essence of ourselves to emerge. And I think we do a very good job at that.
So definitely, I agree. The sound is such a powerful tool to influence our consciousness for better or for worse. And sometimes, when you come into some I don't know, place, and they have some terrible music, and you can immediately become in a low mood, or even start crying. I'm very much sensitive to the music. It's like I cannot stay in the place where the certain music is. Some people don't even notice it. They're chattering, but for me, it's like attack. It's attack. So can you tell us a little bit more about this negative impact of the sound? How to protect ourselves from it, we who are sensible.
That's right. Well, we've got it. We're on the back foot, aren't we? Because we can't turn our ears off, can we?
Yeah.
And so I mean, you can cover your nose, or you can close your eyes, but the ears are always on, even when we're sleeping. So it's always taking information in. And there's a couple things that we can do. Obviously, it's not really come into it's one of the things that I can totally relate to, because I'm the same way. I was always looked at it as a curse of being so sensitive and so auditory. It's like, oh, this is, I can't even, like, loud noises, my kids screaming, like, get the hell away from me. Like, it's like, I had to really learn to cope with that. Right. And so I completely understand, but the key is that, what is that pointing to? And one of the main things that pointed to for me was a dysregulation in my nervous system, and not really letting go of a lot of the past hurt and the past grief and the trauma and stuff that I was holding on to. And so through, catharsis, through breath work, through embodiment work, through all these different modalities, what I was in essence doing was relinquishing the charges that were stored in my nervous system. And it's almost like, you're if you look at your body and like you have a wound on your body and you get cut, right? It's like that wound at first is very sensitive. And it's not until you then let it heal and it heals up, but then you get, maybe some, like if it's on a joint or something, you have to rehabilitate it, right? And so you have to open it up and get moving it and get some mobility back into it. Well, a wound on the in the consciousness, in the psychology, is a trauma. And so oftentimes those traumas are like open wounds. And so the information then that's hitting the nervous system, whether it's smells, whether it's sight, whether it's sound, is like that, like a cat hair coming up against that open wound and just triggering us and setting us off, right? And so it's like, how then do you rehabilitate the psychology? And the way that we do it is we first create a presence to it, an awareness of it, and then an ability to feel safe enough to be present with it. And then when we feel that sense of safety, which is what sound, like nice, soft, soothing sounds and guided meditations can do for us, is to create a container that we feel safe in, so that we can start to relinquish the grasp that is held within the charges within our system. And so then from allowing us to emote, from allowing us then to feel, that's the rehabilitation of the psychology then, that gives us more resilience to then meet these loud sounds and these triggering sounds from a different vantage point. So to me, it's always information. It's like, if I'm getting really agitated with loud sounds and things, I know I've got to get back to my practice, or I'm a bit out of balance, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. What things can I do to nurture myself? So it's like a a gauge. But we haven't really acknowledged the amount of noise and sound pollution that's going on in our modern world, which is just overwhelming our nervous system to begin with. And that really needs to be taken into account and stripped back. And I spend a lot of time in nature just for that reason.
Yes.
I got to get in nature. I got to get into the soft sounds. I've got to get into finding some sort of balance with all this chaos that's going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can wear these earplugs also.
Yeah. Get the noise canceling headphones and just
headphones
all
the time, always in the bag.
That's right.
Thank you so much. We have a similar issues. Okay. Let me get back to Petra. You do this wonderful inner child and regression work. What kind of changes have you witnessed during this processes on the people who come to your retreats, who come to you? Can you maybe share something which had impact on you? I don't know.
Well, the changes are profound, definitely. Inner child is often a first place where we need to start our work with, because we all, I won't say all, but majority of us have the wounded child within, which is, by seeking our attention and help in needing our love and just the security, is vibrationally creating situations in our life that will create a mess in our life, which will bring us to the point where we will finally have to go within and heal the inner child. So that's like the first step on the journey, when we reconnect with ourselves, with the younger version of ourselves, but also with the wisdom that we carry within. And from there, a door opens for, next layers, next realms, and gradually lead us to remembering ourselves as the souls. So I see any trauma, any unhealthy belief, any emotion that is stuck in a body as a gateway to remembering ourselves as a soul, and a gateway to, which leads us to just this endless space where all the information is, and it just pushes us onto a journey and understanding ourselves, life, relationships, and then just continue to journey on. But the inner child, as you mentioned, is often the first step on that way. And that's why it's very important. Otherwise, we stay imprisoned in this, loop of unhealthy beliefs, suppressed emotions that create either physical illnesses or problems in our relationships, or feeling stuck and not being able to move through life, etc. So we need to start somewhere, and most often it is the inner child.
So, what kind of experiences do you see in people, expressions on people's faces, for example, when you do your retreats and they have traumas and they, go through it? Is it very emotional time for them, for you? How do you handle all that emotions, that energy?
Well, I became worst, very, very worst in time. Before I was very, very emotional when I was witnessing that, but now before I was feeling sorry for them because at some points they might be feeling sad when they reconnect with the inner child who is sad or afraid, etc. But now I feel very humble and very grateful because now I know that at this very moment they are healing themselves, and for me it's a sacred moment. So changing my perception from seeing that as, oh my God, I feel so sorry for the little child who was abandoned or neglected, etc. I'm now into, oh yes, this is happening now. Now they're healing now, so something amazing is gonna come out of this, and their life literally changes. I mean, there's not a single person that when they meet with their inner child stay the same. We all change the moment when we finally reconnect with the little one within. Our whole lives change because, first of all, we know that by treating ourselves, we are constantly in communication with the little one within. So we change the narrative. We do our best to treat ourselves better on a daily basis. That we are here as our own supporter instead of our own critic. That most of people, until they start working on themselves, are in that critical mindset where they are, very unsupportive, and the words we tend to use until we realize that there is a little child within are often not nice words, which we pick up from our parents or friends in childhood, or our ex-partners, etc. So simply there, the changes begin. But then also there is this big energetical compound, which is just when the wound is healed, then there is no opening on an energetical field that will continue to attract certain people with certain behaviors and situations that used to confirm to us that we are unworthy, unloved, guilty, ashamed, or whatever. So when we heal the inner child, it's like it creates a beautiful closure on the energetical field, and then we can start inviting in our life people, not just new people, but also old people that are starting to treat us in a different way because we are energetically on a different level. We are vibrating on a level that says, I'm worthy of love. So the way you used to treat me, you cannot treat me that way anymore. And we don't have to say anything,
Yes.
because we are all energetical beings. So
Yes.
just there is no energetical match with the wound anymore. So that's the beauty of the work with inner child. It works on so many different profound levels, and it's so important.
And you're doing also did you say hypnotherapy, regression?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. You mean regression like in the past lives, or?
It can be a regression in this life, like in childhood. It can be a regression in the time when we were in mother's womb, before conception and birth. It can be regression in other lifetimes.
Wow.
It can be regression in the soul realm. So yeah, depending on where the group is, what they need. Mostly we start with inner child work, but then we go as far as they can go. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you need to go even further because there is a biggest chunk of problem.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing. Okay, Guy, I read somewhere that you said that people today feel like they're only half living. What is the one step or two or three, okay, that people
Oh,
can do immediately after this podcast, that they can start living more fully, more connected, more present. What is this mistake we are doing, that we're living like, I don't know, robots?
It's well rehearsed, isn't it? The robot bit. We're really good at doing it.
Yeah.
I keep, as you were talking,
Automatons.
exactly. The challenge is, and my life felt like this, is that do you know the analogy of the frog in the water? You put it in a saucepan. I've never done this, by the way, so I'm
Okay,
just
cool.
saying. Yeah, no frog was harmed. But if you put a frog in a
We will put
saucepan
disclaimer
of
now.
water, and then put the saucepan on the stove, and then just slowly heat the stove, the frog will just sit in it and boil to death.
Yeah.
But if you boil the water and then you stick the frog in, it'll jump out because of the pain. And it kind of feels like that, doesn't it? To me, that's what it felt like for me. It was like, what do we do about that? But when you're talking about one step, what can we do right now? I tell you what the challenge is with that, is that we tend to go, we get ourselves hyped up and we're going to make change. And then it frazzles out of steam. And then we go back to the old self.
Yes.
Weeks later, right? And it's like, how do we start to really move the needle? So instead of running away from a pain that's we want to get away from because I feel so empty, and just start chasing anything, or we're just waiting for the heavens to open up and everything to be resolved. Oh, there's my life's purpose. That's the way I'm going right here, right now. That doesn't happen either. So what I found to really live in is to just baby steps each day, but actually going inward, starting to look at what's the remembrance of who we really are. And to me, the mind thinks, but the heart knows. So for when I started, it's coming back to heart, and it's coming back to actually being okay with being frustrated. And these are great because they're action signals that something greater wants to start coming through. And you're not content of where you are. And that non-contentment is not a bad thing, because it can be used, if used correctly, to start that momentum in a different direction. So what we want to do is create an inertia, a momentum, slowly but surely, like a big ship just slowly turning. But instead of trying to figure out what it is that we want, how about just actually starting to clear the fog of emotions and things and wounds that are within us, which does take time. It is a process, but making the commitment of showing up for yourself and giving yourself that little bit each day. What I've found is that most people feel even guilty by putting themselves first. They put themselves last with everything.
Yeah, especially women. Yeah.
And by doing that, we're always going to perpetuate the same cycle. So we can start saying yes to things. Look, and with that as well, I love that there's a term, motion equals emotion. So if you start to create motion, you can generate different emotions within you. But creativity is an incredible doorway to starting to access in, just starting to do things within your day that are different to the known is a great place to start. So starting to break any kind of pattern that you continuously fall into, to start to create an unknown, because in the unknown is where possibility is. That's where the opportunities are. Because if we stick to the known, then we're going to get the same feedback and response constantly. So we're actually going up against our neurology, aren't we? We're actually going up against a biological imperative, a thrive to survive, that's ingrained in us. And with the overstimulation of Western society, that's amplified. So with all that in mind, to start nurturing that is coming back to heart, coming back to feeling grateful for the very things that you have. Actually just start leaning into a presence of being before we even start our day. How can we set ourselves up in the first 15 minutes of our day, 20 minutes of our day, to then start to create a platform, as opposed to just falling out of bed? The alarm clock goes off. I'm going to check my emails. I'm going to eat the same breakfast and have the same, so forth. Why not get up and move the body, have a cold shower, do a bit of breathing, feel into gratitude. Just change your state of being in those moments is a great place to start. I can't tell you how many people from our retreats have said to us, I wish I'd started this work sooner. If only I knew this 20 years ago. And I always say, better late than never. Get into it. Because the more you nurture your soul, that's your compass. That's it, your heart knows. And all we're doing is developing a relationship to that knowing and actioning upon it from that vantage point and telling our head, to, hey, quit. You know, I hear you. I love you. Let's talk later. So Matt says all the time. He says that to us too. Does that answer your question?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. I remember you have to start change from the very moment you open your eyes. I mean, you cannot expect different results if you do things all the way in the same way, every day the same. You're going to have the same life or even worse. So yeah, a great thing to start from the morning, maybe even from the evening, you know, to make some... I will do that in the morning. I will do that in the morning, make everything in advance, you know, so it's easy accessible. Everything is, I'm going to breathe. I can see that.
One thing I used to do, it just sparked something in me, was I would write down the things that I wanted to feel into, what my life could potentially look like. And I would always look at it before I went to bed.
Yes, that's what I also do.
I did that for many years. Yeah,
you somehow train your mind already. You're already in it. I wanted to ask you, it's a question for Matt. You know that people are kind of afraid of new things, trying, you know, starting a new life. You know, you're 40, 50, now you're starting a whole new life. And although they are curious, they are a bit afraid. What would you say to them? What would you say to people who are thinking, oh my God, this podcast is so cool, I want to come, but who is going to do that? I'm afraid, you know, I don't know anybody there. What is it about? You know, but they are kind of interested.
We get that every time too, don't we?
Yeah, that is the question. I know many people will watch that.
Well, if you can see the terror in the people's eyes that come into our retreats,
really?
not having an itinerary, not knowing what the hell they've just signed up for, with a bunch of strangers, and within 5 days they are so in love with one another. There's so much connection. There's so much joy. There's so much, just so many. We're just all smiling and having a good time, and it's like we get to see, like at the beginning of those retreats, the most, and here, I mean, the most humans have been through horrible stuff, and we perpetuate horrible things for one another. It's heart-wrenching to listen to people's stories and what they're going through and what they're carrying around, these weights and everything, and the pain and the abuse and the trauma. It's so heart-wrenching. But at the end of the day, all we want to do is be connected, and that when people come through this space and meet one another from their hearts and feel safe enough to open up to their true selves, their authentic self, the miracles happen. And there's like this camaraderie and this connection and this joy and this love that just emanates out of everything. And it's like we're a family. We're like one beautiful family. Like people come out of the retreat and they say two things. They say, in those 5 days, I've healed more than 20 years worth of therapy. And then they also say, I feel closer and I've had deeper conversations and connections with these people that were strangers 5 days ago than I have with people in my life that have been there my entire life, you know? And that's the state of it. So I think everything that you might be fearing, that you might be questioning yourself, is the past. You know what I mean? It's like those constructs, those ideas that are cycling in our heads that are keeping us in those same everyday patterns that Guy was just talking about are from experience from the past. And so ultimately, all we keep doing is bringing those same things that were challenging in the past and then plopping them in our present day and then perpetuating them into our future. And so, like you just said, nothing's going to change until you change the way you do things. You change something in yourself. And I mean, these are incredible opportunities to do that. So I suffer from from not being fearful enough, I think. So I've always just jumped in and just done stuff, and it just has opened so many doors for me. And so many beautiful things happen when I'm just like, I don't know if there's gonna be a net there. I don't know if that door is gonna open that I'm running head first into, but it does. And then things happen and things reveal, and I meet people and I have opportunities and have experiences that I never could have thought of. Like, I mean, even look at the studio I'm in, like playing a gong for a living, using sound as a healing modality. When I was a kid, I couldn't have even thought of that. It didn't exist. It wasn't a reality. But because I just played and had fun and just explored and let my wonder and awe guide me, I found something that fills my heart up, and it ripples into the hearts of hundreds of thousands of people now since we've been doing this work. So just sleep. just
Yeah.
just do it. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah. Courage, and a little bit of, adventurous spirit.
Well, fear is just an empty room. As soon as you step into that room, it's no longer empty.
Good one. Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
one. Good one. I will write that down.
Good one.
As
good
soon
one.
as you start, I will write that. Okay, I'm
There
coming
were
back.
two on that one.
Chew on that one. I'm coming back to Petra. Okay, so we're coming to more specifics about the retreat. Could you share more, please, about the retreat itself, the location where it's going to be held, what kind of experience participants can expect?
The unexpected. So, well, as you already mentioned, we are coming to beautiful Split, and I'm very excited. Firstly, to bring Guy and Matt there because I really, really love our coast and our country. So I love the fact that I can bring them here and not just go to Australia. But when you ask about the what people can expect, literally the unexpected, we never share the itinerary in advance. And the reason for that is because we really want people to not have expectations, not to, color and paint things in the way they think the process should look like. Especially because we always, as I told you, adapt to the situation in every single moment. So even if the three of us have kind of structure and itinerary, there is a lot of shuffle, a lot of movement. But definitely what it's important to know is that they are coming to the perfect safe space where they're not only held by the three of us, but by also the spirit and the divine beings that are there with us always. And it's a very deep transformational process from day 1 to day 5, which is intense. We start very early in the morning, we end up in the evening, and we just guide them from one process to the other, whether it's meditation or breathwork or sound healing or hypnotherapy or regression therapy or energy work, a lot of stuff, embodiment. So there are many, many processes that we guide them through, which are definitely profound and very transformative.
Yeah, I like that. I really like the idea that that you don't put that out, so they expect already, and they're already in a half automatic mood. Now this is it, this is it, this is it. Yeah, it's very cool. Would you like to share something more about these 4 stages, which the whole retreat is structured around?
Sure. Well, as we already spoke, people that come to the retreats in the beginning, they are in survival mode, and they bring a lot of pain with them, a lot of trauma, a lot of fear. They come instead of anxiety and depression, and it takes time for them to start trusting the process, to start trusting us, and to start trusting themselves. So in that first stage of the retreat, we do processes that help them feel safe and held and in control, so that we can start unpacking what they brought to the retreat. All the traumas, the unhealthy, unsupported beliefs, emotions that are stuck in the body. And then we use different processes to release that without consciously needing to know what actually is happening, because we don't push people back to trauma. We don't make them relive the trauma. We use different modalities to release the system, to release the body, to release the mind, to release the soul, of those burdens and unhealthy patterns they've been carrying, in a way that we create the container for the soul to lead the way. So neither one of us plays God thinking that we know it all. What we do is we open the space, we create the space, we use different modalities to allow each soul to do what it's needed. So every person gets exactly what they need in that process because their soul knows what they need. Their subconscious knows what they're ready to receive, what they're ready to heal. And that's the beauty of this work, because we are very individual. Every person that comes to the retreat, they're coming with their own stuff. And the only thing we can do is to create a safe space for their subconscious, for their body and the soul to rearrange everything, to release what's not healthy for them, to get the wisdom, get the insights, and then start embodying that and bring it back into life. So that's why we move from survival through those stages as drive and thrive, because we also help people remember that everything they seek for, they already have within. We all have the memory of joy, of wholeness. If not on a conscious level, we have it on a subconscious level and definitely on the soul level. So we, again, use different techniques and modalities to reconnect with that love, with joy, with sense of, courage and everything they might need in that moment. And then we guide them through processes where they expand their awareness so much they remember themselves as the souls that they are. They meet their loved ones. They go through healing processes with their ancestors. They bring insights and wisdom from other lifetimes. Many different stuff can happen. But that cannot happen on the day one because they come with a very narrow focus, with a lot of fear, very stressed, very contracted. So we gradually need to create, the softness so they open, and then we can guide them through all those beautiful processes where they meet themselves as the souls and their loved ones as the souls as well.
Yeah, thank you, Petra. So before I'm asking two questions for all of you three, I would like to say for our viewers a reminder about the retreat. So Live in Flow Retreat, Mastering Your Inner Mystic, will take place from November 12th until 16th, of course, this year in Hotel Le Méridien, beautiful hotel. I've been there like a few days ago. I think the best one in Split in Croatia. So all the links and details you will find in the video description and also in a pinned comment. And also don't forget, there's a special early bird offer available until September 18th. Yeah, so you don't want to miss this one. Okay, so I'm coming to the last two questions for all of you guys. So first one is, you've seen so many retreats, so many people transformation. What kind of changes or transformations do you usually see? What are the some of it which are like most common? Who is going to start? I don't know. Who is quickest? Who is the Matt? I think Matt.
Matt is there.
He's a quick one.
Okay, so yeah, no, I think the biggest thing is that people just they do a lot of crying, don't they? So it's we're so pent up. I think that the biggest healing is the release of emotions, and that oftentimes is the precursor to the physical ailments. So a lot of physical ailments start to dissipate just because people drop into an emotional release and that they've been holding. So I think that's probably the overarching thing. Is that, I mean, the one that I really love is when we go into the deep processes and people have these rendezvous with loved ones that have crossed over or ancestors, and they start to get this information and this closure that they've been longing for their entire life, that they thought they'd never have an opportunity to have. And I think those types of things, or those expanded profound moments, then to see it ripple into their faces and into their lives is phenomenal. So that in a nutshell is it.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that the physical ones are easy to see, right? Because it's obvious. But once we start speaking of those moments of healing of grief, healing of loss, or different traumas that have happened through childhood, I mean, we witness it all, and then the shifts are almost unquantifiable in some ways when they go back into their lives. And quite often we get people that repeat because they come back a year later or 2 years later to continue to deepen the work because they understand that this work is a journey and a process, and we constantly develop in the depth of our relationship to ourselves and spirit coexist, and you can see it in them. The shifts from that person that walked in through the door 12 months ago to embodying the retreat and then continuing to then embody it through their lives and come back. The way they navigate themselves, the way they hold themselves, the way they communicate, the way they conduct themselves, it's night and day. It's quite phenomenal when you see that. So there's so many things. I mean, we had one lady come to our one day event the other day, and she just so happened to mention her brain tumor wasn't there anymore. It's
Wow.
like, yeah. So who knows? It's, I've had my mum come to the retreat. She was 77 at the 76 going on 77 at the time. She couldn't lift a shoulder above shoulder height, her arm above shoulder height for 15 years. And as she healed the grief for the loss of my dad and her husband, she came out. There's a photograph of me holding her arm up like this because she could move her arm again. That is very common. We see that all the time. And, by the way, for the listeners, my mum still loves me. She still talks to me. She made it through the retreat. She didn't know the itinerary. Okay. And she met every process as well. So it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Petra.
Nothing to add, just like I said. I mean, changes are profound on all levels, and people's lives change, their bodies heal. Nothing is the same afterwards, but not in a way that people should be afraid of the change, because the spirit works in such a beautiful way that the change happens in a subtle way that it can support them in living their life. It's not that, their life will necessarily fall apart and everything will crumble and they'll get a divorce, lose their job, and, all this stuff will happen, which might happen because, if they need to like thrive in having some other job, or if they can be in more loving, supportive relationships, yes, some things will have to fall away. And at the same time, they know they have everything they need within to go through changes that life might have ahead of them. We all have challenges. We are all souls that chose to live this life and have certain experiences and challenges and sometimes hard and painful moments. But after those retreats, people know that they have all what they need within to meet life and to enjoy life. So yeah, I would say that the biggest change is that they know they can do anything, they deserve everything they want, and that life loves them.
Yeah. Thank you. So you're gonna cry a lot. That's what that's what I remember.
In the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's going to be cathartic crying, So
Well, you learn to love the tears. It's like you don't put judgment to them. It's not a bad
yeah,
thing to cry. It's like I always say that tears are frozen parts of ourselves thawing out. So in
yeah,
essence, we're just thawing out and becoming our true selves. So
yeah.
let her rip.
Yeah, maybe for some people it's going to be like, what is this salty discharge?
That's right. Yeah, happens all the time. It's like, oh, I don't know where this water came from. It's just wet under my head here.
Okay, so we're coming slowly to the end of the podcast. I usually ask my guests to say some final short message, and I was thinking like this: maybe each of you can share a message from your heart about what does it mean for you to be inner mystic, spiritual mystic. Who is going to be first?
I can go first. I caught an eye on the news today, which was an unfortunate event, because it's always just fear mongering and pain. And I was like, oh my God, everyone's getting shot and stabbed and floods happen everywhere. And like,
Yeah.
all this stuff is going on. And the reason I mention that is because I think the biggest problem on the planet and what we're all dealing with is that we've silenced ourselves. We've severed that connection to our divine self, our soul self, and that yearning of that soul expression that's wanting to emerge into the world, that we find ourselves at this crossroads. And that all this is just illuminating for us that intentionality that we had as a soul when we came into this body, is that we all have this unique voice, this unique soul song, I call it, that we want to express, that we need to express for the evolution of consciousness. And that that is the key. And like, now is the time, we're here. It's such a brief moment that we have in this life. And if I can say anything else, express that which your heart is calling forward. Let your soul song sing. That is my message.
Thank you so much.
You just took my words.
He just said it all, didn't he?
What a jerk.
He's a star of the podcast.
The one thing I'll say to add to that is that every time we come out of a retreat, I feel blessed because we see the best of humanity. Every time we see strangers coming together and connecting at such a deep level, without the judgments, without the conditions, without the imposing of ideals, and really connect heart to heart, soul to soul. And it's unbelievable. And that is what's possible. It's possible. We're showing it, we're proving it. It's completely possible in our world. And sadly, most people feel that doesn't even exist. And then you tune into what Matt's saying. So mastering your inner mystic is really about, for me, is connecting and placing yourself in environments that say yes to you, that inspire you, that nurture you in wanting you to be your best self. And from there, if we all have that fellow relationship with spirit, our souls, and know that we are all connected, we're all from a unified field, and we're all getting here to experience our individualness of this greater cosmos, then we can really start to lean in compassion, kindness, and care for one another. And that will be reflected straight back at us. Why wouldn't we want to live like that? But we have to lean into that and have the courage to say yes to that when the whole world wants to keep you small.
Yes, thank you so much. This is such an important message. Thank you. Petra?
Well, I would just maybe wrap up and possibly repeat what both guys already said, but I believe it's important to say it once again, and that is that even though in our everyday life we might feel, small as this human being, it's so important to remember that we are such great beings that are currently in this human form, and that literally we chose to come here on earth and be here right now in these challenging times, and that each one of us, first of all, have the choice whether we're going to look at everything that is happening from the state of fear, or we're going to ask ourselves, okay, what can I do to make the world a better place? What can I do? Why did I choose to be here, right here in my life, in my body, as the soul that I am, in this chaos that is currently happening in the world? I have the choice. Am I gonna, let that fear swallow me, or I'm gonna finally own all the beauty that I am and all the gifts that I'm bringing into the world and start sharing that with the world? Because with other people who are aware and awakened, we can create a new world together. And each one of us is equally important. And we should all stop putting the responsibility on some authorities or gurus or politicians or whoever is apparently maybe appearing as more powerful, and remember that we are all equally powerful, and that it's time to stop waiting for somebody else to create a change we want to see in the world.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Petra. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Guy, for being with me today and sharing your wonderful insights, your life stories. so our viewers can get to know you better and possibly come and witness all this on your retreat, which is going to be very soon. Time flies, so remember that you can have, let me see the date. Okay, so the special early bird offer is available until September 18th. Okay, I wish you a very beautiful, amazing retreat here in Split. I know the Split is going to be beautiful. Now, La Meridian Hotel is just amazing. The beach in front of it, it's a really super nice, and it's a really nice, cool and quiet area of Split. It's not just right in the middle, but it's a little bit off the Split. So it's going to be, I think it's wonderful venue for this, which you have planned. I'm sure it's going to be a powerful experience. And thank you for being my guests.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Ines. Thank you so much.
Dear viewers, thank you for tuning with us today for another episode of Atma Podcast. Until next time, I'm sending you a lot of warm greetings and hugs from Split.